We are back here. Thank you very much for the little break. And the next speaker will be Marc Cerón Riera, the prison service virtual training, what will remain after the COVID pandemic, lessons learned from Catalonia. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, from a very, very rainy Barcelona. I'm really happy to be with all of you today. And one of the things that sometimes makes the difference when you're talking at a conference is if you are talking at the beginning or at the last day. And talking on the last day, the normal thing is that many things that you want to express or you explain are very similar to those things that has been said yet. But on the other hand, at least this is my impression, we may show that many of the different academies throughout Europe reacted in a very similar way to what we had to handle, in this case, the COVID pandemic. So my presentation today is focused in what we did internally at the Center of Legal Studies and what we did with our clients. Later on the session, we'll have the opportunity to explain deeper the duties and the activities that we used to carry on at the Center of Legal Studies in Catalonia. But very briefly, we provide training for all the staff working at the prison probation services, as well as the juvenile justice services, and as well at the staff that work at the offices for detention to the victims and for the staff that provide restorative justice programs. And on the other side, we provide as well training to those staff working at the courts in Catalonia. Finally, we provide as well training for the staff working at the headquarters of the Justice Department. So it's not only about prison and probation, it is about the whole staff working at the Justice Department of Catalonia. The starting point in March 2020, the reality was that the center was completely analog. We only had online training. The online training meant at that moment only the 15% of the whole offer. And it was basically a synchronous format. So there were a little part of our clients that benefit of this kind of training courses. And as well, there were a lack of knowledge among the staff on IT for working on a remote basis. We altogether are 55 persons working at the center, and we may say that only the 5% or 10% was familiar to work with this kind of products. So it means that we face a big challenge as the rest of the colleagues around Europe. And the most important thing that we didn't know that we were ready for quick change, although we previously thought that it will take a lot of time. The challenges, I said at the very beginning that I would like to make a reflection about how it affects internally the way of working for the staff of the center. And internally, we have to learn how to work from home. Working by one, you may think that we are a team that then 80% of the people of our team has been working together for the last 20 years. So it means that for the first time in all this period, they have to work alone, which was something really new. And at the same time, how to find a way to maintain the self-pertinence to a team, which was not really at the beginning easy. And finally, to be near to the client, which is our main characteristics. It was a quick process. In 2 weeks, we were from 0 to 100 in terms of using IT. We had to cancel all the planned activities, and in 2 weeks to be ready to have an offer for our clients, and we were able to do this in 2 weeks. The aim was to maintain the quality standards. You may know that we have a scale for assessing the quality of our courses. It goes from 1 to 4, and the minimum average is 3.6. So, and in case that we have a course with below 3.2, we assess what we did wrong. So the aim was to maintain these quality standards, and I want to underline this. We have to accommodate to work in a different way, in a more flexible methodology. We try to work under planification. We are now working for the next year, and we, of course, introduce some changes during the year, but the idea is that during the year we did what we planned, and at this moment we have to introduce trial and error as a way to working. And I repeat, we did this with people that were working under this methodology for the last 20 years. It was not an easy process, but it was really exciting. And looking into the clients, looking into the prison staff, the probation staff, and all the other stuff I mentioned it before, we had to rethink the priorities of the training contents. We normally have income training, and we have more in-depth training for those who have been working in the system for several years. And clearly the contents were not the real priority. There were other priorities at that moment. The first one is to try to help to those who can work from home to work better, to be efficient, and at the same time to feel, as I said before, part of a team, part of a mission. So we planned several webinars and directed to help staff in this direction. Especially those who have to work face-to-face with prisoners or probationers or victims. They have to deal with new needs and new ways for dealing with clients. More, for instance, in many cases, many of the interviews were not face-to-face interview, were interviews using IT devices. So there were the need to learn how to use it, and how to use it not only from the technical point of view, as well from the more professional way of doing it, as remembering that the main goal in this case is to maintain the commitment and engagement of the client with the professional. And the third priority was to rethink or to give training in the matter of how to adapt staff for delivering new functions. You may know for sure those who have duties related with the managing of prisons, that the daily life in prisons changed a lot because COVID, and people, many staff had to do different things that they were familiar to do in their careers. So they have to be flexible, and they have to adapt to new ways of working. For instance, social workers worked very hard in provide online connections among prisoners and their families. And the way to carry on this new duty was one of the contents of our training offer. If we may talk about step 2, because I didn't mention that when we talk about the step 1, we are talk about the time that we are completely locked, and in step 2, that we may call the new normality, that started in July 2020, and we don't know where it will finish. We hope quite soon, but we are still in this new normality. We recollected data about the level of adjustment of the new approach from prison and probation staff, trainers and managers. So we had interview with them, with a sort of them. We used questionnaires to ask them the main difficulties, the main advantages, the main challenges that this new situation create on them related in the matter of training. And it was very, very interesting to see that from the very beginning, people saw difficulties, but as well they saw opportunities and they saw even advantages from this new situation. I may elaborate a little bit more on it if you have interest after the presentation. In any case, we consolidate the new options, synchronous, asynchronous, and hybrid. We, in a way, understood how to use each of these options, depending on the aims, depending on the clients, depending on the contents. In terms of contents, we had to pay more attention to aftermath of the whole COVID situation. There were many emotional aspects in the situation that we have to deal with, and we have to pay attention in these aspects. We look after how to prepare the comeback. I don't know if the situation was the same in other countries in Europe, but we have the situation that some staff, especially in prisons, remained in the place briefly during all the hard period of the pandemic, and the others use some legitimate explanation, but they simply left and they were not present at the difficult moment. So the balance among remaining staff and staff who left was a really challenge, especially for managers, and we try to help them how to prepare this potential conflict. We were very interested in being near our clients to help them to stop for a day, 2 days, and to think together what we learned from the situation. We think that it was the moment to include in our way of working with our clients a methodology for being aware that we didn't simply pass the crisis and then continue with as always. Instead, we gave them methodologies and training for being sure that we recollect all the information about what we did and what we learned in terms of what we need to remain and what we need to change in the future. The future, it is quite clear that it will be different from the past, but not the same as it is now. And we have at least 2 challenges. The first is to rescue learning training as an opportunity for creating face-to-face meeting points. The General Assembly of that we are assisting these days is a clear example from our side of this challenge. You did a big effort, a huge effort for maintaining the assembly, and it was really a successful attempt. But now we need to think how we rescue the opportunity for creating face-to-face meeting points and all the opportunities that we know for sure that this situation creates to all of us. For instance, we spent the last 20 minutes in a coffee break, and for sure, if we were all together in Warsaw, this was an opportunity to talk a lot with other colleagues that now we don't have. On the other hand, the challenge is to enhance virtual connectivity as a way for arriving faster, farther away, and for sustaining momentums. What we learned is that people has to come to Barcelona in the past at our center. Now we can connect with people all around territory of Catalonia. We can connect people together in different prisons and in different facilities, and very important, sometimes we are able to create momentums throughout the conference, throughout a face-to-face meeting, and then it is very difficult to sustain the energy of these momentums because of the distance, because of the difficulties to find time to join together, etc. So we can take profit of this for sure, and we have to find a way to enlarge the use of these new opportunities. What will remain for sure, as I was saying previously, synchronous online training for staff working from Barcelona will be something that for sure will remain. Asynchronous online induction training for newcomers is something that was completely new for us and will remain. We may thought that more than 300 people came into the system because COVID-19, and we have to provide induction training to those newcomers, and we did it using asynchronous online courses, and it worked really very well. So for sure we will maintain it in the future, and for sure we will maintain hybrid presentation of researchers. We do research, applied research in our center, and the normal thing is that we had 200 to 220 attendance to our online sessions of these presentations, and by now the average is more than 800 people attending the conferences. So for sure, this is something that we will remain in the near future. Thank you very much for your attention. I know it was brief, but I tried to summarize as much as possible our moment and what we learned from now, and I'm from this moment completely at your disposal for any questions you have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you very much for your very interesting presentation. This is Marc van Koppen from the Netherlands. I was wondering, you said we will keep on synchronized training for participants who live far from Barcelona. But do you think that there might be any difference in the outcome in training, let's say the old-fashioned way in a classroom, versus training online? I mean, do participants get the same amount of knowledge and experience from either ways of training?
Thank you. Of course, we have to see differences in the two ways of delivering training, and what we have by now is during all this year and the year before, the 99% of our activities were online, and we assessed the level of satisfaction and as well the level of acquirement of the knowledges and the skills from students, and we did not see huge differences. The level of satisfaction is 3.6 this year, and is in the average, as I indicated before. And the test that we used for being sure that people acquire the knowledge and the skills where they obtain similar results. So our aim is, when being together in a classroom is something that may add value for a particular group, because they belong to a same area or different areas that we want to meet together for exchange better the knowledge and the skills. Of course, we use the presence in the center. But when we are talking about more practical training, based more in the acquisition of knowledge and skills, and it is not an added value to have all these people together because they knew each other very well in the past, we can arrive faster, and we can arrive to people that they did not use the facilities of the center because of the distance, or because they have real difficulties. You may know that the staff of prison has allowed to have 40 hours a year of training. We saw that people living far from Barcelona use it less than these 40 hours a year because of the distance and the difficulties. So we'll try to complement the two things in the sense I explained it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other questions? Maybe on the chat, or online participants have questions? I think there's no questions. So thank you very much for the very interesting presentation. Now we have a little coffee break and see you 11:15 on the next workshop. See you then. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.